like 2 or 3 a.m. It's never really specified, but it is like very late.
Yeah, I've heard it said just before dawn. I have no idea if it'll be
Yeah.
or not.
Then around 8 a.m., Anne sets out to pick Patricia back up from Patricia's house. Anne owns a car. I think it was a Buick.
1955.
1955 Buick. And Anne lived in Lombard.
Sorry that it took us a while, Todd, but...
Yeah, sorry, man.
Hope you're still listening to us.
Oh, I'm sure he
I'm
is.
sorry I didn't get angry that we never used his suggestion. Stop listening to us.
Well, it was a great suggestion, because what Todd suggested was that we look at Stanley Kubrick's The Shining.
Yeah.
Because it turns out there are a ton of theories on the interpretation of what the movie is all about.
Yeah, it's surprising, actually, how many weird hidden meanings.
If you're choosy about getting a
And I
phone
haven't
that's
seen it in
genuinely
like 20 years, so I remember several years ago I watched, there's a documentary which is going to come up, so we'll just talk about it now, Room 237.
Oh, you saw that?
Oh yeah, I've seen it several times now. But I remember watching it before and thinking, I don't remember any of this stuff. I've since watched The Shining about 2.5 times in a week and a half, so at my house, The Shining is no trouble for continually watching that movie, and I know you weren't.
Well, I had never seen it before, because it may or may not shock our listeners to know that I hate horror movies. Like, I don't watch them at all. In fact, if there's like even a remotely scary, tense soundtrack to something, I probably won't watch it. This goes back to legitimately, I think I was a year and a half old. My mom tried to show me Bambi. She'd never seen it before.
And it terrified you?
Well, and you know, the moms in her group said, "Oh, don't worry, the kids don't know that." Spoiler alert: the mom dies. No, the kids don't realize that, and you know, the music kind of comes up, and I stand up on the couch. I'm a year and a half old. I stand up on the couch as the music's just like, you know, and Bambi gets out of the fire and. I turn to my mom and go, Mama, where's his mama, Mama? 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 Where's his mama? Mama? And my mom just gently took the remote and turned it off and said, she comes back at the end, let's go do something else. And I think that moment with the music is a very good representation of, I can't. And this one was so bad. I mean, I texted you about it. In the middle of it, I was like, do I really have to do this because...
Yep,
no, I think, what is this movie about? Why are we watching it? And I just cleaned up what that message said.
That was super clean. I was not excited about watching it. I think it was the soundtrack. I think that if it had a different soundtrack, if it had wacky sax in it.
Well, but see, that's the thing. It's totally Kubrick. That movie is absolutely Kubrick. And spoiler alert for everybody: if you haven't seen The Shining, I know you were going to get around to it. And it's only like 35 years old.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about this movie in depth.
You might want to go rent the movie first.
You might want to pause the podcast and come back in a couple of hours when you finish The Shining.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I know that. Devin didn't like it.
No. I liked it. I just don't like movies like that. And the thing is like I like all of the other Kubrick movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It was just this.
Well, this one's kind of an outlier because he always wanted to do horror, so this was a bit of an outlier for his catalog.
Yeah.
He actually he did a little bit of everything.
He really
horror movies and horror movies. I mean, you see him like obviously Doctor Strangelove.
That's one of my favorite movies of all time. You guys know that because I title all of the names of my scripts in that fashion. I don't know if you guys have picked up on that.
How I learned to stop that and love the bomb.
Yeah. How I learned to stop worrying and love the Toynbee tiles.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. Yeah.
And one of my faves is Clockwork Orange.
I like that one too.
Which is another darkly humorous movie. It's really very funny, but it's in a very dark way.
Yeah, he was a very unique director.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Very talented.
Absolutely talented. But let's go ahead and kind of step into what we're going to talk about here.
You want to talk more about how much I hate horror movies?
Well, we could.
We could do a whole episode on that.
Let's do that one later.
You might turn our listeners off.
Okay. But no, what I was going to say when we were talking about all the theories is some of these theories kind of got to stand on one leg, hold your mouth in just the right way, and then maybe see it and some of them are based on the evidence they give you are really, really obvious.
Yeah, and when I watched Room 237, I was having a really hard time not doing that thing that people do sometimes where you sit in front of the TV and you're like, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that thing is the real thing. Oh, no, wait, I know you said that that contradicts it. You know, just accepting the facts as they were given, and I know that we'll talk about that a little bit too.
Yes, because you cannot do that.
No.
But are you two ready? You ready for movie time?
Ready.
Yep, let's do it.
All right. Who's got the popcorn?
Oh, I'll make some.
Okay, sweet. First bit of business, let's talk about The Shining, not the movie, but the book.
Yes.
By Stephen King.
By Stephen King.
It's a little different.
It is. So King wrote the
Slightly.
book, and it came out in 1977. And the baseline story is the same. And I'm going to give you a baseline version. It's not exact because they do diverge from each other so much.
Yeah, well, essentially, they're just going to spend the winter in
It's the Torrance
in the
family.
mountains,
They moved to the Overlook Hotel. It's in the mountains of Colorado. They're going to watch the hotel and maintain it over the course of the winter, and they're going to be snowed in. There's three main characters at that point. We've got the father, who is Jack, the mother, who is Wendy, and the son, who is 5-year-old Danny. That's our main characters.
Well, Danny has telepathy.
Yes, it turns out Danny can see things.
He can shine.
He can shine, as it is called.
Yeah, so you can not only read minds, communicate telepathically, but also can see things that happened in the past and in the future.
Or are going to happen.
And he has the, what's his name?
This little
In the
Tony,
movie, he
the
has
alter ego.
Tommy.
Tommy, but that's in
Or
only
Tony.
in the,
Tony.
Sorry, it's Tony.
but that's only in the movie.
Yeah,
in the
not
movie, he has Tony
But
in
not in
both.
the in the book.
Oh, you
In the
did?
book, Tony is there.
I didn't read the
but
book. Sorry.
You gotta, okay, what Devin is doing, by the way, everybody, is she is imitating Danny with the pointer finger up and down to talk. So right now, up and down conversation.
Yeah.
Nah.
That is not present in the book. He talks to Tony in his head. So the finger thing is a way to visualize it for film.
Yeah, interior monologue is really hard to do.
It is. So what happens, of course, Danny sees things. Those things are affecting his father. His father goes nuts. He tries to kill the family. The father dies, and Wendy and Danny escape the Overlook.
Yeah.
That's the short version. That's a very evened out, because again, they diverge so much.
Yeah, but the hotel is like haunted, I guess you could say.
Yes, it's a very hellish place.
It's inhabited by a very evil presence.
I would say evil presence is the right way to go about it.
Yeah.
So like I said, King published the book in 77.
Yeah.
Kubrick got a hold of it, decided he wanted to make it into a movie. But, of course, he needed to make changes for it, because as we just said, internal monologues don't work on film.
Well, you can do it if you're going to have the narrator.
Yeah.
But
But
that's
that's a bad format for a horror movie.
that's why, a movie that was very faithful to the book was Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
And
it
really
it really sucked. It didn't work. I mean,
wasn't
the book was hilarious, and the movie just sucked.
It is. And King, being flattered that Stanley Kubrick is asking to turn his book into a movie, says, go ahead, change what you want, not realizing quite how much was gonna get changed.
Oh yeah, pretty much everything.
King hates this movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely hates the movie. And it's because of the fact that Kubrick went in and slashed so much out and then changed so many things that he had to change.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting.
It came out turned out to be a good story, a good movie.
They're just not the same story.
Not quite the same.
Not quite the same story.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to focus on the movie. So, we're going to talk about the actors briefly here. We have 4 actors we're going to talk about. So, Jack Torrance, the father, is played by Jack Nicholson.
A very young Jack
A
Nicholson.
very,
Yeah.
and yet already balding Jack Nicholson.
Oh yeah. Oh, by the way,
Wicked Widow Peaks.
there's
Yes.
a warning to you people. I guess it's too late because you've already shut off the podcast and you're renting the movie right now, streaming it on Netflix. But Jack Nicholson's hair is kind of wild in this movie.
It is.
It's not on Netflix.
No, it's not on Netflix.
No, you can't stream
I
it.
think Amazon
Oh.
Prime is where I watched it.
I don't remember.
This is
where.
sounding like an ad. I'm sorry.
Yeah, anywho, our next character is going to be Wendy Torrance, the mother. She was played by Shelley Duvall. She's a great character.
She's, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to leave it at that.
Yeah.
We have the son, Danny, who is played by a 5-year-old boy named Danny Danny Lloyd.
Who, fun fact, didn't know that they were filming a horror movie, and in fact didn't even see the movie or like find out anything about it until he was like 14. It's like 9 years later, his parents finally said, "Yeah, all right, fine, me."
Yeah, he was 16, I think. Yeah.
Apparently, he was like horrified. He had no idea.
They told him it was a drama. Did you watch the making of that's out there? And there's one guy, I cannot remember his name, but he was basically Danny's handler. He hung out with Danny. He did everything. So as soon as the scene was done, "Hey, Danny, let's go do this." He'd grab his hand. He'd run down the hall. Like, they were totally keeping him sheltered, I would say.
They do this with child actors a lot. There's this movie called The Fall. One of the characters is a little girl who speaks Spanish. And they actually had to film all of her scenes in sequence as she learned English, so her English would get better. And one of the other characters is a paraplegic. He can't walk, and she literally thought that he was paralyzed until the premiere of the movie when she saw him.
Anymore. Yeah, and that's exactly it. They've been there for so long that just nobody knows.
Yeah,
it's just
been there.
It's there.
Yeah, so is it possible this was a quarrying operation? Maybe they were just cutting out rock to use in projects.
Well, I don't know that they would be able to. I mean, think about it. It's a 6 or 7 foot across hole. So if you're cutting a pillar out, at places, this is at essentially a 45-degree angle is the mountain face. It seems like a bad place to be digging columns of rock out, and it seems like you could quarry it somewhere that's a little more accessible.
Yeah, and also obviously you want to quarry as close to wherever you're building your thing.
Exactly.
And so there's no ruins around there, right?
Well, and that's something that we're going to get into. That is part of one of the theories that I could substantiate. But we'll just take the theories from the top.
Sure. Yeah.
There's a couple. Some better than others. The first one is that people have hypothesized that these were storage containers for grain.
God, that just makes exactly 0 sense.
You're exactly right. No capstones have ever been found, because if you're going to make a hole in the ground to store grain, you want to protect it. You got to remember the altitude that we're at. It's pretty dry, and no record of grain has ever been found in these holes. People have dug around and tried to figure it out, and there's, whatever the local grain is. It's not wheat, but let's just say if they were using wheat, you would think you would find wheat seeds.
Yeah, but and just why?
Yeah. Why would you build a building?
Yeah. Or make it wider. I mean, why this very small, very long?
Well, and you would think, because grain is being grown all over the place. If this was a typical way of storing it, then you would find these holes scattered all hither and yon. It wouldn't be in one place in a mile-long line.
And at the base of this mountain, it is amazing to look at the satellite imagery, because it is this barren rock face, and then suddenly lush greenery at the base.
Yeah,
where it opens up.
There's just no good reason.
No, there's no good reason.
And you want to store your stuff in similar climates, not up the mountain and the bottom of the mountain. No.
So then people said, well, maybe they're individual graves to put people to bury people in.
Oh.
Same thing with the grain. Not a single human remain has been found in any of the holes.
Now, so are these? Are they dug in? What's the soil like there? Is it dirt or is it
stone?
Oh, so it's solid rock.
Rock.
They carve these out of solid rock.
They're carving them into a rock face. So
I guess the only thing I would say is ashes that could have been blown away, but it just seems like a lot.
But if I'm putting the ashes of my ancestors or the bodies of my ancestors into a hole, wouldn't I want to cover them?
Well, maybe not. I mean, different cultures have different.
That's true. There's the sky burials with
and
vultures and stuff like that.
And if this is so old that we literally have no idea where it came from, who knows what those people believe?
That's very true.
But still a little weird.
Yeah, very. Now the next one is the next theory, even weirder. And I gotta laugh at the internet right now. Article about how it looked like coring holes or pilot holes that would be done for mining to see what's in the rock and in the soil, somebody said. And I quote, "To this Texas boy, it looks like what a drilling rig would do." do laugh at the internet because that really made it hard for me to find new information because every site I started doing a find on for the words Texas boy because there was a lot of prodigious copying and pasting on the internet.
Of course, yeah.
But people are saying, well, you know, maybe it's an alien civilization that came to this planet at one time and they were doing samples up the mountain to see if there was anything in the rock that they wanted to use, and they found nothing and they left.
Either that or they finally found something useful and they find it out and carefully covered it back up.
I guess, yeah, my problem with that is that, like, they would have done that other places.
They would have done it all over the place and not just in that one spot.
And that's a huge sample size. Like, okay, to be fair, I don't know how giant these alien rigs were, right? But, like, that's a huge sample size. Just be going up and, like, it's not like the dirt is going to change in like the 4 feet in between.
Yeah.
No. Therein lies the rub.
Yeah.
So that's those first 3 theories, yeah, they're pretty well kicked off.
Okay.
The next one says that it was created by an ancient civilization.
Okay, yes.
But for what we don't know. And here's why. Everyone loves to point out when they are looking at it that we've got the Nazca Peninsula and we've got Machu Picchu, which is relatively close to this area.
How far is Machu Picchu from there?
I don't know exactly, but I'm just saying in the region. They're
isn't
close.
Like the hugest of the areas.
No, it's not a vast.
Let's just, I don't know how many miles, but let's not worry about that. But there was a lot of really intricate building going on at that time. And one of the things that people point out is, you remember that, and I know I showed you too, is, and everybody who looks at the satellite images, that saddle where the band of holes suddenly ends.
Yeah.
To me in the imagery, I couldn't tell if it was just rock outcroppings or it almost looked like there was some spots of sections of holes, but this outcropping, the saddle, almost looks like a slump of the mountain came down and
like
covered
a little avalanche or something.
Right.
Yeah.
There are images out there where people will say, look at this piece of rock. It looks blackened, this section of rock, which is hundreds of feet across. And they're saying it looks blackened as if there was an explosion.
Or maybe an alien landing site and they just burned it with their rockets.
Right.
Yeah.
So I showed you two.
Yeah.
There's no blackening, I'm using air quotes here, blackening of the soil. I'm afraid I think that's actually a little bit of photoshopping.
Yeah.
I think maybe somebody did some contrast adjustments and just made it look what they wanted to look like. But they're also, in those same articles, there's another image they show of these blocky, ruinous structures. It looks like blocky, ruinous structures in kind of ravines or carve-outs in the mountain. I couldn't find that. I looked around. I looked all in that area. I spent probably an hour combing across the map. I couldn't find it. But people say, well, based on the blackening and this ruined city that we find, we think that it's similar. It's the same culture that built Machu Picchu and the Nazca lines. But I can't find any of that. I don't even know if that's in the same area or how zoomed in somebody was. It really raises a lot of red flags for me.
Did you do any looking for archaeological sites in Peru? See if any of them, because I mean, obviously these things, if there were ruins, they would be known.
Yeah, and that was exactly it. I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it as I looked around. I'm afraid that I think that, because here's what would happen is people would show that image of this supposed ruin site and then Machu Picchu. And they would show how the structures, the squares, the buildings, and the stones were kind of similar, but I could never find them. I don't know if it's not invention.
Probably.
Finding what you want to find by zooming in close enough.
Yeah.
I'm not going to point a finger and say somebody's outright lying, but I couldn't find it to back it up.
Yeah.
So I worry about that this whole, it was a city by an alien civilization that then was bombed out.
Or an ancient civilization, which I read a really interesting article recently, which I will definitely be talking about with you guys at least, and hopefully we'll be able to formulate a show out of it about this whole ancient civilization, ancient anything.
Ancient aliens.
Kind of, but it was very, very interesting. But, I mean, you know, we've talked about this before, and I'm sure we will continue to talk about the fact that there's strong proof of highly intelligent ancient cultures.
Oh yeah.
Even
absolutely.
in North America, there's the Clovis culture. There's like, you know, cultures that we hardly have any record of at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there was sophisticated civilization
right.
going back a long, long time.
And they're just so old that we don't have good civilization. But I think that